watching the Bulldog Brewhouse Podcast.
Hey folks, it's Steve Grover back here for episode 3 of the Brewhouse Podcast. Again, I'm going to pump some coffee shops here in Calgary, Cafe Monte. They're sponsoring this episode 3. Obviously, they've got a nice coffee here called Cafe Rico, roasted at 3,800 feet. So I trust if anybody wants a good cup of coffee, follow up with Cafe Monte, and hopefully you have a good cup of Joe one day. So we're here back for episode 3, and I've decided to have my guest as a gentleman from Barne's Blackfoot Motorsports. Is that the new name now, Steve?
Barne's Blackfoot Powersports.
Powersports. Okay, so Steve Moran, thank you for showing up for episode 3.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Good. And how are you doing?
I'm doing very well.
Okay.
You, Steve?
Good. Looks like you came directly from work today.
I did come directly from work.
Yeah.
It's our busy season, so no time to rest. No rest for the wicked, I guess.
Okay, all right. And then you have that fancy 50th anniversary Blackfoot Motorsports shirt on?
This was our uniform shirt that we're currently using. We are switching over to the BPS Blackfoot shirt soon.
Okay.
But the 50th anniversary was a few years ago.
Okay, so can you tell the folks out there what's recently happened at Blackfoot in the last month or two?
I guess the beginning of March, we were officially purchased by the Barnes Group. The Barnes Group has several Harley-Davidson dealerships in Edmonton and British Columbia. They also have a multi-line dealership in Victoria as well.
Okay, and so they just recently bought off the old owners of Blackfoot?
Yep. The 3 partners sold their shares to the Barnes Group, and they have now taken operational control.
Okay, so your former 3 bosses, they cashed out, and now they're probably living in Costa Rica, and you're sucking wind, still working for the new owner, right?
Yeah, you could say that, yes.
Okay.
I hope they're enjoying their retirement, although I don't know how retired those guys will be. They're pretty high energy.
They are? They can't sit and relax for a week or so?
Some of them probably could, but I don't know if they will.
Okay, so if no one knows who Steve Moran is, my understanding, Steve, is you're the Triumph salesperson for Barne's Blackfoot Powersports now. Is that correct?
Well, I am the brand champion for the Triumph line at BPS Blackfoot. Okay. And I've been there for 2 years now. Okay,
so what's brand champion mean? What is that? It's just a sexy name for the sales rep?
It is kind of a sexy name, sure.
Okay.
I concentrate on the Triumph brand. I will sell all brands, but
yeah.
I'm the local expert on Triumph within Blackfoot, and I have to do all the dealings with the manufacturer or the distributor in this case.
All right, and don't mind us. There is the NFL draft right behind us, and I think Carolina Panthers are on the clock right now with the number 1 pick. So hopefully
nice.
You'll watch our show rather than watching the background. But I just thought, being an NFL fan, unfortunately I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan. Do you watch the NFL at all?
I do watch the NFL, and I'm sorry that you're a Dallas fan because you guys are going through some tough times.
Yeah, we haven't won anything in 30 years. And,
no.
My loyalty is like Dallas, but I realize, with Jerry Jones as the owner, they're never going to win another championship because he thinks he's president, GM, head coach, quarterback, running back. I mean, he's pretty much a micromanager.
He is the expert in all phases of the game. Just ask him; he will be the first one to tell you.
And do you have a favorite team you follow in the NFL at all?
In the NFL, not really. Probably New England.
Okay.
But that's probably because they were winning for so long.
Okay.
When I was a kid, Dallas all the way.
Okay.
But then they kind of fell on hard times, and I switched.
Okay, so you're a bandwagon Patriots fan now.
When they were winning, sure. Now I don't really care.
Okay.
But the NFL is great entertainment.
Okay,
I will say that. I'm really a CFL fan.
So who's your team in the CFL?
Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
So the Blue Bombers?
Yeah, I have family who played for them, and they're all big boys, so if they tell you to cheer for Winnipeg, that's who you cheer for.
Okay, all right. Well, yeah, I'm a Stamps fan. I was born and raised in Calgary, so I mean, I don't agree. I think McMahon Stadium is probably the worst stadium in the CFL for football. That's why I don't go to games anymore. But you know, I do like the Stamps.
Yeah.
But you know, the Blue Bombers, I'm not a big fan of Winnipeg. My dad, just funny story on the side, he was a doctor, and when he moved to Canada, he went to Winnipeg. And he worked at the St. Boniface Hospital as a surgeon.
Oh, wow.
So one day he came out and he said, Steve, it was minus 50 out, and the tires of my car were frozen to the parking lot. That was the night I decided to move to Calgary. So that's my exposure to Winnipeg.
So,
Okay?
so it's slightly less cold here than in Winnipeg.
Yeah, well, I haven't had my tires frozen to the pavement yet.
No.
So tell everybody where you're originally from. If no.
I'm originally from, I guess, Toronto, but I've lived all over the country. We were kind of corporate nomads growing up.
Yeah.
I went to 4 different elementary schools in 4 different provinces. So Toronto, Montreal, Toronto, Calgary, Vancouver. And then once I finished high school, family had moved to Montreal, so I went to school in Kingston.
Okay, so parlez-vous français?
No, not much. No,
Okay.
a little bit here and there.
Okay, so you're not a true patriotic Canadian knowing English and French. Eh?
No, not at all.
I trust selling Triumphs, and they're based in England. You don't need to know French, correct?
I don't need to know French at all,
Okay.
which is nice.
And then how did you get into motorcycling? Like what age? When did you get into riding?
Well, according to my mother, I'm still not allowed to have a motorcycle.
Yeah.
But I guess it started elementary school. The neighbors' kids got a motorcycle, a little Z50 Honda, and so we all were riding that, and then that led to buying, bigger dirt bikes and stuff. And then my first street legal bike was, well, when I turned 16, was an XL 250.
Okay.
And I rode the wheels off of that. And then when I was at university, I bought a little 400.
Okay.
And that was the first true street bike I had. So
Okay, and you still riding today?
still riding today.
You still have a valid Class 6?
I don't know. I have a valid class 5-6.
Okay, so do I, but I met a lot of guys in the street in Alberta that don't have a Class 6, and
Oh, I
they just
know.
think like, you know what, I got a Class 5, my buddy taught me how to ride a bike, I don't need a Class 6.
I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good. Well, and honestly, for the longest time, I didn't have a motorcycle license. And then when I graduated, I went to work for Yamaha Canada.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, I should probably get legal now. And so I took the course and
Yeah.
got legal.
Okay, so what did you do at Yamaha Canada?
I was in the marketing department.
Okay.
I had, after I got out of university, I worked for a few years doing a couple different things. One was I worked at Lake Louise for a year.
Okay.
Well, 3 years. And but when I went back to Ontario, I decided that I needed to get a real job. So I worked in a couple of different industries, and then went back to school and became a marine tech.
Mm-hmm.
And Yamaha hired me because I had a technical background and a promotional background.
Okay.
And so I joined the marketing department.
So other than sounding sexy when you're trying to pick up a woman at the bar, what exactly does a marine tech do? I've never heard of that.
I worked on the different
You know, when you go
systems.
to the bar, you got to impress the ladies. I mean, like just buying them a
right.
drink isn't going to work anymore. They want to make sure you have a cool job.
Most you get to crawl around in the bilge of the boat. I worked on the different systems of the boats. I really did specialize in electrical repairs.
Okay.
So I was the guy who had to chase all of the wires through the different areas of the boat that nobody can get to.
So were you married when you became a marine tech, or were you still single?
I was still single.
Did it help you pick up ladies by saying that you're a marine tech?
I don't think so, because most people can tell that they don't make any money. So.
Oh, really? Okay. That sounds like a cool job to me.
It was, it was fun because
Yeah.
you're always around the water, you're on boats and that sort of thing. So from that perspective, yeah, it was cool. But in Canada, the water gets awfully hard in the winter time.
Yeah.
and so it was okay.
Yeah.
But since I got into the power sports industry, I've done very little with marine stuff. It's
So
been,
when
been
you were-
mostly motorcycles.
Okay. So when you're in a marine tech, where were you living? Toronto, Vancouver?
I was in Toronto.
Okay, like working in the Great Lakes area?
I was actually working in like southern Ontario. So yeah, a little bit on Lake Ontario and mostly Lake Simcoe.
Okay. I have no idea where that is. I know where Toronto is. I was just in Ottawa. I know where Rideau Park's shopping center is in Ottawa. I think I know where Lake Erie is, but I have no idea where that is.
Well, Lake Simcoe is about an hour north of Toronto.
Okay.
So it's between Toronto and Barrie.
So if I'm at the Sky Dome, if I go to Sky Dome and see the Blue Jays playing the worst baseball stadium in the major leagues, I head north, I'll hit to Simcoe Lake.
You will
eventually
you'll
get there.
you'll be right beside Lake Simcoe.
All right, okay. And then, so how did you get into sales and motorcycling?
I really wanted to, when I was with Yamaha, I decided I really wanted to be on the unit sales side.
Yeah.
So I applied for jobs at Yamaha, and I eventually became a parts and accessories. I guess they call this territory sales managers, and I looked after Western Canada. An opportunity came up at Suzuki,
Yeah.
so I went over to Suzuki. I switched companies, went over to Suzuki, and they thankfully transferred me to Calgary.
Oh,
So
okay.
I'm a real avid skier, so that was right up my alley. I told my wife that we'll go there for 5 years,
Yeah.
and that was in 2003.
Okay.
So
So you've been almost 20 years
yes,
now.
but it's still a 5-year plan.
Okay.
So, couple things happened, and we started having children, and decided I wanted to be off the road. So most recently, I joined Blackfoot 2 years ago, and it's just been a great place to work. The great atmosphere, great products, great ownership, and I've really enjoyed dealing with people. And actually, I far prefer it to when I was with the distributors, where I was only dealing with like the owners of the shops,
Yeah.
and not the general public very often. So.
Okay.
Now it's really interesting to talk with people about their motorcycling experiences, and if they're new rider or veteran riders, and what sort of bikes they like.
Okay. So then you went to work for Blackfoot, and they put you into the Triumph department?
They put me upstairs as kind of a European specialist, they called me. So
Okay.
kind of we'll call it a generalist in the European brands. And then they asked me if I would become the brand champion of the Triumph line, which honestly was my favorite line anyhow. So it was
Okay.
kind of a marriage made in motorcycle heaven.
Okay. So yeah, explain to everybody like the layout of Blackfoot. It's a pretty big dealership. It's probably one of the bigger dealerships in Calgary right now. And then, so when you talk about the second floor, how's it designed when you walk into Blackfoot?
Well, as you walk into Blackfoot through the main doors, you have your choice going right and left, and the right is to the moto side, left is to the parts and accessories and the street side.
Okay.
All the metric brands, so Honda, Kawasaki, all of those brands are downstairs. Straight up the stairs is all the European brands, Triumph of course, which I look after,
Yeah.
BMW, which Simon looks after, and Ducati, as you know, which Miles looks after.
Okay. All right. So you're in charge of the Triumph. So when you worked for Yamaha, did you deal with their motorcycle section at all?
I was primarily on the motorcycles. Being in the marketing department, you're dealing with all the product groups, but primarily I looked after motorcycle.
Okay, and then now you're selling Triumphs. Okay, so to be honest with me and the rest of our audience out there, what's the difference between Yamaha and a Triumph as a motorcycle?
Well, I find that the European brands in general kind of have more personality, if that's a way to say it. They just seem to be more engaging to ride.
Okay.
All the Japanese brands do everything really well.
Yeah.
but it's almost as if they've engineered a lot of the fun out of them.
Really?
Like I find that they're excellent bikes.
Yeah.
They perform well and stuff. They're just not as engaging to ride.
Okay, well, I mean, I'll let you know, my dad was a rider and he loved Yamaha, so he lived and died Yamaha. But Yamaha's got some interesting models out there. Obviously,
absolutely.
the Tenere T7, you can't even get one here in Calgary.
You can't get one because every one that we get pre-sold.
And then there's also the R1. I mean, the Yamaha R1, their super bike. It's about 26 Canadian, which is pretty good because if you go into S1000RR BMW, you're looking at 30 minimum.
Some of the ones that aren't as equipped as well, they probably start at 24, 25.
Yeah, but if you want something decent with heated grips and all that stuff.
If you want the loaded ones like you like.
Yeah, that's 29,000. And then you get the Ducatis V4S, they're getting up to 40 grand now, all in.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, obviously Yamaha, and then Valentino Rossi, you can't forget him. He rode a Yamaha. I think he went to Ducati for a while, and then he went back to Yamaha.
Yeah, he rode their wheels off of the Yamahas.
So they do have some cool bikes, the R1, the T7, good luck. I've been trying to get one the last 3 months, and I can't get anyone.
No, they are in such short supply. Yamaha seems to be having some issues with supplying bikes. Yeah. And I don't know if it's because of tremendous demand for their bikes or they're having an issue with supply.
Okay. And then you got the MT-09 SP. That's pretty sweet, naked bike.
That is a sweet naked bike. That 900 triple is a super nice motor.
You can't get your hands on one of those. I tried to get one 2 months ago. Good luck, boom, they're all gone.
You got to get started earlier for those prime ones.
Yeah, but then, okay, so like when you think Japanese bike, you think, okay, good bikes, reliable, don't break. It's almost like a Toyota. Like if you get a Toyota 4Runner, that thing can go for 400,000 K.
Absolutely.
Now Triumph, you're telling us that they have more character. In which way?
They seem to. Well, they're just. It's hard to define. They're just a more engaging ride. They are consistently rated the most dependable and durable of the Euro brands.
Okay.
Like I said, it's pretty hard to outdo the Japanese in terms of.
What about BMW? Outright. Isn't BMW like solid like an armored tank pretty much?
Well, I don't really want to say bad things about brands that we carry, but the BMWs, perhaps because there's so many of them, you do see them in the shop more often. Okay. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that they have so many electronics, and as you know, depending on how you're using your bike, whether you're a real off-road person, the electronics are a little bit more fragile.
Finicky on that?
Okay. A little bit fragile.
Yeah. I'll give you guys credence. You do have Steve McQueen. Probably the millennials don't know who the hell Steve McQueen is.
The coolest man who ever walked the earth.
Yeah, and he was in that movie, The Great Escape, and I think he had a Triumph in that one too.
He did use a Triumph to, on film at least, to jump a fence. Yeah. It was actually the stuntman who was his good buddy who did the actual jump because they wouldn't let him because if he crashed, he was too important for the movie. So.
And then what about James Bond? You've seen like those recent James Bond movies come out. Now they have the Tiger 900 on.
They have a Tiger 900 in them. They have Scrambler 1200s in them. Yeah. And that the Triumph really caters to getting their bikes on film. And they're just looking for exposure. And if you're watching a number of movies, even though it might not be publicized, a lot of the bikes you'll see in them are Triumphs, whether they're identified as Triumphs or not. Jurassic Park, one of the characters was riding a Scrambler.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So.
Okay. Yeah, I had before you came. They had that other guy selling Triumphs that's not there anymore. Mr. Davey, and he sold me a 1200 XC Scrambler. It was a good bike, 94 horsepower. It was kind of like old retro kind of looking. I mean, I enjoyed it. I just found that there wasn't enough top end speed on it. And then what happened during COVID? All of a sudden, there's a shortage of bikes. Like, what the hell happened? Was that just the bikes disappeared from the world because they're scared of COVID too, or there's just a shortage of bikes during COVID?
I think because so many, I think it was a combination of factors. I think it was a bunch of plant closures, both the actual assembly plants, but the suppliers' plants were shut down for COVID. And I think that there was a huge demand that came up worldwide for motorcycles and everything recreational, because people were locked away in their houses a lot of times, and they just wanted to get out. And motorcycling is something you were allowed to do. Nobody's going to stop you from putting a helmet on and going and riding by yourself.
Yeah, so I had that 1200. It was the kind of like army green one, and it had that nice brown seat on it.
Yeah.
And then I said, you know what, I'm going to put on Kijiji just for the heck of it. And the kid called me up right away from Winnipeg. The next day he flew out from the Peg to Calgary, paid me $1,000 less like what I paid for. And I just, if you just give me cash deal, I don't know what I paid for the bike, but it's $1,000 less. And I had 2,000 K on it. I said, just take it.
Yeah.
He gave me the bank draft. I cashed it. It went through. He got on the bike and he took off and drove all the way back to Peg that same day. Like 2 more days though. So that's how easy it was for me to sell bikes during when COVID. That was like, I think it was a 2019 Scrambler. And I had it for
the first year of them.
Yeah, and then in around probably May or June of 2020, it was gone within a day.
Wow.
And they paid me, like, I just lost $1,000, which is pretty good.
But you rode it for a while?
Yeah. It was a good bike. And then, so what are the new bikes coming out in 2023? So obviously this is your opportunity to try and sell Triumphs on a podcast.
The hot bikes that came out for the 2023 model year would be the Tiger 1200s.
Yeah.
They came out last year as an early 2023 model.
Yeah.
They changed nomenclature on a bunch of the bikes. They had street twins and stuff, and now those are speed twin 900s. But the big exciting news for Triumph is they're getting into the motocross world. They have let little snippets of information out about their new bikes, and they're really working hard because they want to hit the ground really competitive. So they've hired a bunch of really high-end team builders in the States. So they've spent an awful lot of money on managers and engine builders and frame tuners and stuff. And they've also got Ricky Carmichael as an advisor, and another fellow over in Europe working on the Enduros. And they've invested a lot of time and money in that, and they're supposed to be in the dealerships in December. So
so 2024. Okay, have you seen any of the prototypical, what the motocross bikes look at? Like what size of engine they're going to be, like 250s, 350s?
The first one that they're going to bring out is the 254 stroke. After that, it's going to be the 454 stroke. And in the Enduro, so there'll be street legal, like dual purpose bikes. They're going to have a 250. There's going to be 4 different sizes up to a 500-ish. They're kind of keeping the information a little scarce, but they keep dropping little things on the internet and just to keep everybody's interest.
So what's the pricing going to be like? Is it going to be comparable with Yamaha and KTM motocross bikes?
I think it'll be comparable with KTM Husqvarna. So I think that they'll be a little bit higher end, but we're hoping that they come out with some really competitive bikes right off the get-go.
All right. Hopefully that'll help with sales.
Yes.
And then, are you going to have that in the motocross section at Blackfoot on the main floor, or keep them upstairs?
I think that from the perspective of A, space, we don't really have room upstairs, and B, if people are looking for motocross bikes, they'll be around all the other motocross bikes. So, and we have our specialists downstairs who have forgotten more about motocross bikes than I'll ever know. So,
so what's the feelers been out? Like, are people coming into Blackfoot asking about the motocross bikes coming out? Their excitement about it?
Yeah, there's been a few people who have been coming in, but like I said, they've kept it under wrap until very recently. And they at some of the AMA Supercross, they kind of dropped. They had one out there, but it was kind of undercover and stuff. So they're being a little careful with it, and they're playing the internet game and stuff.
So they're going to have a big motocross team go out too for Triumph and race and try and win some races right away?
Yeah, they're going to have a supercross team right away,
Okay.
starting in 2024.
Yeah.
And they're going to be going hard at it in the 250 class,
Okay.
and then the following year in the 450 as well.
Okay, all right. And then other than motocross, because there's not much to reveal about that, but I know that was coming out last year. I heard about it. But so you have now the 1200. Is that selling well now, or is it kind of like iffy, like on the sales?
The 1200 is in a tough portion of the market because it's going head to head with the BMW 1250 GS.
Yeah.
1250 GS has been number one for an awful long time in that section of the market, and for good reason. It's a great bike.
Yeah.
Triumph really targeted that as what they were building the new bike for. I think the Triumph does some things better than the BMW, but the BMW does some things better than it. The 1200, like any new bike, is taking a little bit of time to get rolling.
Yeah.
There's only so many early adopters and stuff. They've got great programs on it now.
Yeah.
So we've sold, I want to say, about 8 of them this since like January 1st.
Okay, so I mean, other than the fact that probably everyone in the world knows there's a new GS 1300 coming out right now at BMW.
Yeah.
And I've seen it. It's prototypical. It's shorter, a little stubbier. Why? This is your opportunity. Why would you buy a 1200 Triumph over a BMW? Other than the fact that the model you can buy now is going to go out of style by January.
Well, I think that well, so you can buy it from me.
Well, of course, yeah. Well, that's number one reason, so you make more money.
So you can talk to me about bike.
Yeah.
I think that the 1250, like I said, does a lot of things
Yeah.
well. I think that the Triumph does a lot of things better. It's got a little bit more horsepower. It's a little bit lighter.
Yeah.
It's a smoother motor
Yeah.
at speed.
Yeah.
Where the BMW has advantage is if you're in really technical, super low speed riding off road,
Yeah.
then it's probably got the advantage there because that boxer motor will absolutely idle down like a tractor.
Yeah, okay. But like 80% of those bikes don't go off road anyways. They probably go to Starbucks and back.
Well, there is that.
Yeah. Okay. So 1200, but what would be the number one selling model of Triumph right now of all the bikes? Because I know there's in the 900 Rally. You got the new Street Triple coming out. Everyone's excited about that.
Yeah.
5-star reviews and MCN reviews. I've been reading that. You got the 1200 Speed. What's it called? Street Speed Triple.
Well, there's the Speed Triple,
Yeah, the
Double
Speed
R,
Triple.
and there's the Speed Triple RS.
Yeah.
One's the Double R has clip-on bars and a little
that's
bit of
a
a
whole
fairing
bike,
and,
yeah.
and an unbelievable electronic suspension on it. The RS is kind of the traditional naked hooligan bike.
Yeah.
Fantastic bike. I think you had one in the past.
No, I never bought one.
No, you never bought one?
No.
The one bike you didn't buy.
Yeah. So let's get it right. So right now they have the Speed Triple 1200. Is that the model?
The Speed Triple 1200 Double R, Speed Triple 1200 RS.
And which is the one that has the fairing on it?
The Double R.
Okay. So has that been selling much at all or no?
It has not.
And why is that? It looks like a cool bike.
It is a
It's
very
kind of
cool
retro
bike.
looking MV Agusta look to it.
It's got that cool fairing with the round headlight.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. The big bikes haven't been selling super well.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure why. Could
Yeah.
have something to do with the demographics.
Yeah, I watch a lot of YouTube, and I like to watch about bikes. Obviously, I'm always in your shop talking to everybody. But I read a couple articles and saw some reviews about that bike, just saying that the handlebars are just a little too low, like more of a sporty thing. If they would have raised it more like a naked position, it would have been more relaxing.
It's one of those bikes that kind of is borderline sport, like super bike or full on sport bike, and naked bike. So it kind of is it's kind of in between. It's not as aggressive a riding position as say an R1. Yeah. But it's a lot more aggressive riding position than the RS. Okay. And it's one of those bikes. Is it a track bike? Is it a street bike? Yeah.
It looks cool though, like especially the red one. When I saw that up at your shop, like, holy, this is a nice bike. I kept on thinking about it, and then I just saw the reviews. It looks cool, but you know, there's an MCN review guy I love. He's a bald guy. You probably know who he is. I forget, Ernie or Evan or something like that. Everybody knows. He's got those knee pads that have the happy face on them. But he just thought, he just thought that it's too aggressive of a naked position. And I do like the double R, the hooligan bike. What's
the RS?
The RS. That's a nice bike. But a lot of people don't like that front end. You know,
the headlights do resemble a bug.
Yeah.
And you'll get a lot of people in. And it's usually the guys who are just, oh my God, this bike is so cool, it's so fast, it handles so well, it does this. And then the girlfriend or wife will just look and go, no, it looks like a bug.
Okay. Well, it looks like a transformer a little bit.
A little bit, yes.
And then tell us about now they're bringing out a revised Street Triple. Is that correct? An RS, and a Moto G one.
Moto 2, yeah.
Yeah, Moto 2.
So they started with a clean sheet of paper, although honestly it looks very similar to the old one. Yeah. But they changed, the suspension, they changed the motor, they changed the steering head angles on them. Yeah. The Moto 2 has clip-on bars, so it's even more aggressive riding position. Yeah. Each bike has a unique seat height because the rear suspension set up on them. Yeah. They have done away with the Street Triple low that they had built. It was a great bike for shorter people. But they've done away with that, although you can still get a low seat, and there's something in the suspension that you can switch to get it almost as low as that.
Is there a lot of pre-orders on that bike coming in?
That one, I had 2 Moto 2s, which are the top end ones, and those were sold almost immediately. Yeah. I had 2 RSs that sold almost immediately too. I begged Triumph for 2 more, or at least 2 more RSs, and those sold right away as well. Okay. And then I have 2 Rs that are available. Okay. So, and we're expecting the first RSs to start arriving in the next week or so.
Okay. Yeah, because the reviews I've seen, like if you're not going to track the bike, and you're just going to go around town, probably the R is enough. I don't know. Have you ridden any of them yet, or no?
I have not.
Okay.
I have not.
Okay, so that's an exciting bike for 2023 for Triumph.
We're really looking forward to that one. And they're also talking about a bunch of smaller Bonnevilles coming out, like 250, 300, 400 Bonnevilles.
So Bonneville engine is like 1200 right now?
Well, there's a 900 and a 1200. Yeah. And they're talking about much smaller ones, so 250 and 500, I believe. Okay. Again, they're keeping the information a little close to their chest.
Okay. So what's the number one selling Triumph at your dealership right now? Of all the because I know they got a ton of models. They got the Bonneville, the Street Triple, the Speed Triple, the Rocket 3,
Yeah, it'd be likely the Tiger 900 range.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so both the Rally and the GT. Those are probably the most popular bikes that I'm selling right now. The 900 is probably the best all-around mid-size adventure bike. Yeah. And they just walk out the door.
Okay, so the Rally or the Rally Pro, or probably the Rally sells better?
Well, the Rally Pro sells better because they don't build very many Rally Pros, they don't build very many Rallies. Okay. Because people seem to want all of the extra features, heated seats and heated grips and all of that stuff.
Okay. So the number one bike is the 900 Tiger, and then who would come in second?
Probably the Bonneville Bobber.
Okay. Yeah, that's a cool bike.
Yeah, it is a cool bike.
Yeah. It's got a small tank though.
It does.
9 liters or something like that?
No, well, it's a bigger one now. It's 12 liters.
Okay.
Now they 2 years ago they revised it, and they put a bigger front tire on it and a heavier front end and cruise control, but they also enlarged the tank.
Okay.
Because it couldn't really. It wouldn't make it to Banff.
We couldn't even go from downtown Calgary to Bragg Creek without filling up, right?
Well, I'm not sure if it was that bad, but it was not far much. You wanted to fill up and brag, but it's a great little bike actually, and it's also got the Speedmaster, which is kind of the 2-seater version of it. Doesn't sell in the same numbers, but great little bike. But just the look of the bobber attracts way more attention.
I remember when they brought out the bobber and then they had the TFC model, and that was a cool bike.
Yeah, like Triumph factory custom.
Yeah, and then that was at the Triumph. I don't think you're working for Triumph yet. They had a show before COVID down at Stephen Avenue Mall.
Yes.
And it was like right there, and like I was bugging, like I want that bike. And there was only one in Calgary. It sold right away, and it was gone. But it was a cool bike.
Oh, you didn't get it?
No, I didn't get it.
Oh,
I didn't. Yeah, I was asked to come to that party. I forget what restaurant it was. It was okay. And then they revealed the Rocket 3 there. That's a big bike. Like that's got a big tank on it. Like the front end of it. That's what scares me about that bike. It's I heard it's good to handle, but it's got this whole gas tank that sticks out like this.
It has it's much smaller than it was we're in Generation 2. Generation 1 was a far bigger bike, but the tank is a lot of that is air intake.
Yeah.
Because it's such a big motor. It's the biggest motor in production motorcycles.
2.6 liter engine.
Yeah, 2.5.
Yeah.
And
it's bigger than most like Honda Accords out there.
It's bigger than the motor in my car.
Yeah.
And but it makes so much torque. It has the highest torque numbers in the industry at 163 foot-pounds, and lots of horsepower. And it's just a super nice bike to ride.
The only thing that they got a rap on when it first came out, when I watched the reviews, like the startup, and then people love Harley because you get those pipes on there, and loud pipe saves lives.
Of course.
The only thing that they were complaining about, the engine wasn't so crazy sounding. I don't know if you agree with me on that at all.
Well, because it's a stock pipe, all stock pipes are a little quiet.
Yeah.
There is aftermarket systems available for it. Although, quite honestly, I think Triumph does a really good job with the sound of their bikes.
Yeah.
The right from the classic with the Bonneville twins, they sound really nice. Like even then, like I was on a 900 Speed Twin the other day, and it sounds great, especially when you're downshifting it. Burbles and out the back end. It sounds really good. The triples, all of the triples, like whether it's a Tiger triple or the sport bikes, like the Speed triple or the Street triple, they have a really interesting wail to them, and that goes right up to the Rocket. It has, you get on the throttle on those, and people know you're coming.
Okay, and then what's the third most popular bike that sells at your dealership of the Triumph models? And
I would have to say it to be the Bonnevilles.
Yeah, like Bonnevilles?
Yeah, the Bonnevilles or the Speed Twins.
So, okay, cool. So what is typical customer, you go upstairs, you go to the right, you got BMW, okay, you got Germans, you got your super bikes, you got your GSs, you go to the left, you got Triumph, you got your Rocket 3s, you got your Bonnevilles, then you go in the back where Miles is, and you got the Italian sexy bikes. What's the typical customer that buys a Triumph? Is there a profile that you have at all that you like? Oh, that guy's gonna buy a Triumph. He's not gonna go back and buy a $40,000 Ducati. Yeah,
no, I don't think so. I mean, there's certainly people who will, who want the status of the Ducati.
Yeah.
They'll go back there, and even if it doesn't really fit their riding style or their needs and stuff, they just want it because it's sexy.
Yeah.
All the Ducatis, you scratch them deep enough, they're all red, and they're terrific, sexy bike.
Yeah.
The BMWs are really a lot of electronics on them.
Yeah.
If you're kind of a real electronic guy, then that's the one you're going to want, because they do everything for you with their electronics. So you can also, build them exactly how you want it, within reason. The Triumphs, the Triumph customer seems to be a little bit more laid back.
Yeah.
And they, they're not as impressed with, the Ducati name and the BMW name, and frankly, the Triumphs are a little less money.
Okay. And so, things are looking good for Triumph coming forward in the future. Motocross, they've got some really good models. Street Tripple's going to be probably a big seller for you. It's always been a big seller for Triumph.
Has.
Have you been to the factory over in England?
I haven't been to the factory in England. I'm really looking forward. We're supposed to have some training in June down in Georgia, where they're going to apparently introduce us to the new motocross bikes.
Okay, like
so we'll be hands-on.
Atlanta, Georgia, or Georgia near Russia?
Well, Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay, they're not gonna send you drop you off in the Donbass on the way to the Georgia.
No, we're not gonna go behind the Iron Curtain.
No,
but
Georgia's got good wine. If you ever go there,
oh, do
they got good food.
Yeah,
they got good-looking black-haired women, very hot-looking women.
Okay,
so it's not bad. But they're gonna send you down to Atlanta, Georgia.
We're gonna go down to Atlanta, Georgia, and from what I understand, they have built a motocross track, like a dedicated area for race bike development and training for the racers and stuff.
Yeah.
So, rumor has it we're gonna get to go out to there and maybe ride the bikes. So that'll be interesting, because I haven't ridden a dirt bike in a long time.
Okay.
So I'm hoping that at least one of the other Blackfoot guys who has some motocross experience will come down, so I don't have to try and be the motocross star from Blackfoot.
Okay. Any plans in the future of you going over to England and doing a tour of the factory at all?
I'd really like to. I don't know if that's something that Triumph sets up and does. I think it'd be a great idea.
Yeah.
I have been to Japan for factory tour of Suzuki, and that was really a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know if Triumph does that sort of thing, because Triumph US is who we deal with, and I don't know if they like to send other people over there.
But you do have new owners at Blackfoot, so the Barnes family. You can tell them.
We could ask the Barnes family if they could buy me a plane ticket and send me over. 2
weeks in the UK. Go see the Triumph factory. Go to a couple English Premier League games,
and maybe some British Superbike.
Yeah, and then also go to a Gordon Ramsay restaurant in London and get screamed at.
That'd be awesome. I don't have to go that far to get screamed at.
All right. Okay. So things are looking up at Blackfoot now with the new ownership. Sales are going well for Triumph. I mean,
Triumph sales are up this year. Actually, motorcycle sales are up this year over last year. They're up again.
Okay.
And we had a big full store meeting last week, and we were told, we were given the numbers, and we're up from the previous year, and we're hoping that continues.
So why is that? Everyone, we had 2 years of COVID, and then we get out of COVID, and oh my God, we're in a recession now. We got no money. Interest rates are 7.8%, 9%.
The only reason I can think of is that there was a lot of people who came into motorcycling over COVID, new riders, and there's a lot of people who came back to riding from during COVID who hadn't ridden for years and years and years. So I think that what could be happening is those guys new riders who came in and they bought a 300 or 400cc bike have now ridden for a couple of years, and they're stepping up to a bigger bike.
Okay.
And I think the same thing is with the people who return to riding. They bought a smaller bike because they were just getting back into riding, and now they're trading it in for a larger bike.
Okay. So you actually have reasonable people, sometimes you get that kid who's 16 and he comes in and says, I want the Hayabusa. And then you see those videos on YouTube, they put it on the parking lot, and the kid just revs it and he wipes out right in the parking lot. You're not selling bikes, you're not selling like Hayabusas to 16-year-old kids who just got their Class 6.
Well,
we all heard those stories.
Yeah, well, that might happen sometimes. because really we can't stop somebody from buying anything.
Okay, so some kid just came in like tomorrow and said, I'm 16, I got my class 6 yesterday.
Yeah.
He would sell him a Hayabusa if he wanted to. I know they're not selling they are selling here and there. I know they dropped the prices recently.
Yeah.
Because that's an old school 90s bike.
That's and
Suzuki.
it's a really fast bike.
Yeah.
You can only counsel a customer so much.
Yeah.
And then if that's what they want, that's what they want.
Okay.
2 years ago, I had a woman who came in and she was a first time rider. She had just taken the course and she had, I don't think she had passed her class 6 yet.
Yeah.
And she came in and I was showing her smaller bikes, and then we went downstairs, and then we went upstairs to the Triumph area, and she fell absolutely head over heels in love with a Bonneville Bobber,
Okay.
which is, it's a 1200cc bike.
Small bike though.
Nice low seat height.
Yeah.
But it's got a lot of power to it, and the one that she fell in love with happened to be one that had been dressed up, so it had pipes on it, had a different seat on it.
It had the 8 bars on it.
It didn't have the 8 hangers, but she that was the bike that she wanted.
Okay.
And
you sold it to her, obviously.
so well, I did try and talk her out of it. She still got it. She just loves it. She's dropped it a few times.
Yeah, we all do. That's part of life.
It is.
I dropped my bike last July.
Especially a brand new bike. That's
Yeah.
it's gonna fall over your first bike.
Yeah.
So she's got that, and then one of her neighbors, I guess she lives in a condo building. One of her neighbors backed into it, knocked it over.
Oh, okay.
So anyway, it was in for some.
Well,
it was in for some body work.
Yeah. Well, we all drop our bikes. I dropped one of my Ducatis last July, and
I remember that.
Yeah, it's somewhere in the back, somewhere in Blackfoot. Don't tell your new owner. I'm still waiting for a bike to trade it on. So yeah, we're at the end of April now, 2023. I know there's some exciting events coming up again. The motorcycle season starting. Tell us what's coming up, because I know in May, is it May 21st, is the Distinguished Gentleman's Ride?
Yes.
What's that all about?
The Distinguished Gentleman Ride happens worldwide on May 21st. So all around the world they have that ride.
Okay.
It originated in Australia. It's a lot of fun. It raises money for prostate cancer. It's part of the Movember charity.
So it happens in May, but it's supposed to happen in November?
Well,
is that Australian? Like when it's summer in Canada, it's winter
everything's
in Australia? Is that what they purposely did that to screw us over?
Well, I don't think so. I think that they chose it as a time when it was reasonable weather all around the world.
Okay.
They used to have it in September our time, so much nicer in Australia. But here it was really touch and go on whether it would be nice weather or not.
I've had some really good rides in October, even to the week up to Remembrance Day.
Oh, nice.
Like clear, the leaves are falling, 12 degrees out, 15 degrees, no wind, sun's out, boom, just blow down the road and make sure there's not a cop around the corner. Yeah. I've had some really good fall rides in my history, but this Distinguished Gentleman's Ride, can anyone join it?
Anybody can join it. They can just go to the Distinguished Gentleman Ride website and register, and you're raising money for prostate cancer.
Okay.
And it's really a fun time because they call it Distinguished Gentleman because you're supposed to dress dapper.
Yeah.
They use the Mad Men, Don Draper, from the Mad Men television series as their model. So you see people out there with, blazers and full suits and bow ties and all sorts of stuff.
All dressed up, looking.
Old-timey helmets and stuff. And it was, honestly, it was a lot of fun last year. It was my first time at it. And we had a lot of fun. So
is there do you have to own a Triumph to show up to it, or can you ride any kind of bike?
You have to ride an old-timey bike, we'll say. The Triumph Classics are all good to go. Actual antique bikes are good to go.
Yeah.
Custom bikes are great to go. Yeah. But they don't want a bunch of they don't want a bunch of sport bikes and big touring bikes and they're not looking for adventure bikes and stuff. So they're a little strict from that, but last year I think they had about 130 riders out.
Oh, that's pretty good.
And this year I would imagine there's going to be more. And they've actually got the Calgary Police involved. So they're going to be
handing out tickets to everyone showing up. If you don't,
arresting everybody who doesn't have a compliant bike.
Yeah.
No, they've got the Calgary Police Services out, and they're going to block traffic so that the
riders can go through.
Yeah, so all the riders can go through, and it's a real parade through downtown.
Okay, so where does it start this year? Just to let people know.
They have not announced that yet.
Okay, it's a secret.
They keep it a secret until right before, a few days before the event, and they inform the registered riders of where it's to start.
Okay.
Blackfoot is going to have with Grover Law. We're going to have a little bit of an event before the start of the ride, and then from Blackfoot we'll go to wherever the starting place is.
And where does it end?
It ends at Ill-Fated Customs.
Okay, Ill-Fated. And Kenny, he's a big Triumph rider. He loves his Triumphs. I've been to his shop. He's got a cool shop. He has an eclectic kind of shop he has there.
He has a very cool shop. They do some fantastic custom work there. Not only on bikes, but on a whole bunch of like cars and campers and.
But he's got an eclectic style to him. You have to agree with that kind of. Like he doesn't appeal to everybody.
No. Yeah, but you know what? Things like that, customs never appeal to everybody.
Okay. So if someone wants to register for the Distinguished Gentleman's Ride, which is a good cause for prostate cancer, raising money, obviously that's a good cause. How do they register for the Distinguished Gentleman's Ride?
If they just Google Distinguished Gentleman Ride, that'll take you to their website, and then you can follow the links and you find the ride that you want to go on, Canada, Calgary in this case. And they will, and just follow the links, and you can register yourself. Okay,
so anybody out there thinking of showing up in their $3,000 Dene suit on their Ducati V4S SP or SP2, probably not. They won't ride. They're not allowed on the ride, are they?
Well, they probably will be discouraged from riding at the front. They might be allowed to ride in the back.
Okay.
So.
All right.
But the only other real event that I'm really excited about this summer is the Kootenay Rat Raid.
Yeah, okay. So the Rat Raid. So that was in the next event. That's coming up July.
Middle of July.
13th to the 16th of July?
Yeah, I believe that's.
And that's in Nelson, BC, eh?
Nelson, BC, and we're going to hopefully gather a group of people on the Wednesday of that week and ride out from Blackfoot. Okay. And then there's in Nelson they'll have organized rides on the Thursday and Friday. Thursday and Friday, and both off-road and on-road. And then there's a show and shine and a big buffet or a big dinner. Yeah. And there's
usually a big banquet on that Saturday.
There's the big banquet on Saturday, and it's a really eclectic group of people. Yeah. It's primarily Triumphs, but any brand is invited, or all brands are invited. Okay. And I went last year with one of my colleagues, Chris, and we had a great time.
Okay. And so it's in beautiful Nelson.
It's in beautiful Nelson.
I've ridden that. You go down to Crow's Nest Pass, you go through Frank Slide, you go to Fernie, then you go through Creston, and then you go
Cranbrook, Creston.
You go along that long bridge and you take the Kootenay Pass. Yeah. That's a nice ride.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. And it takes you down to famous Sallow, BC. Do you know Sallow?
Salmo.
Yeah.
Salmo.
You turn right. Yeah. It's got that big gas station there, and there's just like 8 little houses, and that's about it.
Yeah, it's about 2 gas stations and a bunch of little houses.
Your last stop before you hit Nelson.
Yeah, the Salmo Pass is a really nice ride because you're gaining so much altitude. You can actually feel the temperature dropping as you're going up. Also, when you're in Creston, instead of taking the Salmo Pass, which is to the left, if you keep going kind of straight north out of there, you can take, I think it's Highway 6, but I won't swear to it, up to the the ferry dock on Kootenay Lake, and that's known as probably the best riding road in British Columbia.
Yeah, it's nice. So, it's got the single and twisties, and then you hit the ferry.
Lots of curves.
And then the ferry ride is very long. I was surprised how long it was.
Yeah, it is.
It's a good ride. It's a good boat trip.
It's a great boat trip. Yeah. And then once you're over there, you can either ride down to Nelson, or you can, head back north, and the roads to the north, like up through New Denver and then up to Nakusp, are just fantastic.
Yeah, I like going through Fernie, and then I like Creston. It's kind of cool. You're getting me excited now. I have to go on this ride this year. Then you take that long bridge, and then you get that Kootenay Pass. I love going up the Kootenay Pass, especially when you got a good bike that's got a lot of torque and horsepower. And then coming down, just make sure you don't get behind a big tractor trailer.
No.
And then they're flashing their lights, and you're stuck behind there going 50 kilometers an hour all the way down.
That pass, if you're stuck behind a motorhome or a big tractor trailer.
There's big trucks, there's big rigs on that road.
You almost want to turn around and do it again without that in front of you.
And it's kind of cool. You get up there in July, and it's cool on the top, and then you just whip down.
Absolutely.
So that should be a good event this year. The Rat Raid. Why do they call it the Rat Raid? Is there a bunch of rats that hang out in Nelson or something? I don't know.
Well, whenever I'm there, yes.
Yeah.
But no, it's. I think it's a traditional saying that people, when bikers come to town and they scurry like rats, but it's has nothing to do with rats, to the best of my knowledge.
Okay.
I saw no rats when I was there.
Yeah.
It was a rat-free zone.
Yeah.
To the best of my knowledge. Yeah. But just a lot of fun, and like I said, it's a really interesting group of people who participate in it. They're all from all around. A lot of Americans come up for that one. A lot of people from BC, Alberta, of course. And everybody just seems to have a great time. There's no, it's not pretentious, and it's just,
so
a lot of fun.
Nelson's, I think it's the pot capital of the world right now or something like that.
I don't doubt. There's a lot of.
So is there a lot of smoking dope going on in the Rat Raid or no? I don't know.
Not that I saw.
Okay.
Not that I saw. But it could be.
Yeah.
But no. Nelson itself is a really kind of cool town, and it's real
granola kind of feel.
Really granola vibe to it, and a lot of, I'm gonna say, latter-day hippies and that sort of thing.
So you get a smell of fresh air, or more of a lot of marijuana smell throughout the winter?
I didn't notice much in the way of marijuana smell when we were there.
Yeah.
But it's just a neat place. You
didn't strike up a big stogie fat.
That's not my thing.
Okay.
So no, I did not.
But you're in the pot capital of the world, Nelson, BC.
You went in Rome, you mean? Yeah. No, I did not. We did sample some local brew when we were there. But Nelson's a neat place because they're very careful about what businesses they'll allow in there. Years ago, they somehow allowed a Walmart in there, and there are still residents there who won't go to Walmart because it's
too corporate.
It's America. Too corporate America, and it doesn't belong in Nelson, and blah blah blah. So
well, I mean, Walmart did. They brought down prices for everybody to afford everything. So Sam Walton, probably one of the best books I ever read about business, called Made in America by Sam Walton. If you ever want to borrow the book, I have it in my library at home. It's a great book. But I understand Walmart's quite corporate, and Nelson's kind of a hippie kind of granola pot town.
Very much so.
So there's no smoking dope, but I trust there's you're drinking a pint of beer. And where is it held at? Is there a certain hotel it's held at?
The hotel is called the Adventure Hotel, which is a really old hotel that was completely renovated. I'm not sure when, but they made it into a very cool boutique hotel that books up and fills up every year for that. They've got two other hotels. One is called the Hume Hotel, which is probably the biggest hotel in
it's
in
one
Nelson.
of the fanciest hotels too.
Very much
I stayed there last year for the Ducati Rally. It's a nice hotel.
It is a nice hotel. And then there's one that's a suites hotel. And I would go to their website as well, and just figure out which are the hotels that everybody's staying at, but
Yeah.
it is primarily at the Adventure Hotel, but everything's so close in Nelson that
So if someone wants to
walk.
join the Rat Raid this year in the middle of July, where would they just go Google Rat Raid 2023?
just Google Kootenai Rat Raid.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
it'll come up. The woman who organizes it, Leanne, runs an excellent website,
Okay.
and all the information is there that you need.
Okay.
And like I said, we went on it last year for the first time, and I'm really looking forward to it this year.
All right. Okay. Well, hopefully you'll be able to sell a couple Ducatis there too, eh?
Well, I don't know about Ducatis.
So not Ducatis, Triumphs.
Triumphs.
Yeah.
Triumphs.
Yeah, Triumphs. Yeah. We don't want to pump Ducati. In this
No, not right now. Miles can pump his own bikes.
But yeah, maybe you can sell a couple Triumphs and keep
Absolutely.
your bosses happy, eh?
Absolutely, because they're letting us go, so we have to keep them happy.
Oh, so they're paying the bill?
I hope so. They haven't done it yet, so
Okay, all right.
I assume they will.
They'll let any Ducatis at the Rat Raid, or no? They'll ban
Yeah,
them.
no, it's not Triumph exclusive. They let any bikes come there. Although I did see Ducati there last year that somebody put a Triumph sticker over the Ducati nameplate. There was a really neat bike there that was called called it a Triton, and it was a Triumph and Norton hybrid.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of neat bikes there. They like that show and shine that they do there.
Mm-hmm.
They take that very seriously. There are some bikes that are just absolutely spectacular, and you kind of wonder how they got there.
Yeah.
But because did they come in a trailer? Are they trailer queen bikes, or are they actually using them? Most of the people say no, they've been used, but
Okay.
some of them are pretty fancy.
Okay. So you won't be riding a Ducati out there, you'll be riding a Triumph, eh?
I will be on a Triumph.
So have you picked what model you're going to be on?
I'll be on a Tiger.
Which one, the 900 or 1200?
I'm not
probably,
sure.
Maybe the 1200. You're not selling so many of those. I'll have extra
Well,
ones.
we do have a 1200 that's going to, like, with the big tank, a 1200 Rally Explorer, which is the big 30-liter tank, so we can probably almost get there on one tank of fuel.
Okay.
And we'll also be having a Tiger 900.
Yeah.
And those are both demo bikes that we have.
Yeah.
And then I'm really hoping that we're going to be sending our van there.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason for that is so we could bring some other bikes, and also to provide a pickup service. If any bikes break down on the organized rides, we'll be able to send the van out and pick up the stranded bike.
Okay, all right. So hopefully it sounds like a good time this summer. You got a lot of events coming up. Sales are up at Blackfoot with the new ownership. Triumph's on the way to probably kick some ass into motocross, maybe take KTM and Yamaha down one day. And then you got
Take everybody down.
Yeah, and then you got Distinguished Gentleman's Ride coming up in 3 weeks, and then you got the big Rat Raid coming, right?
Yeah, we're really looking forward to a fantastic year.
Beautiful Nelson,
British
no
Columbia.
smoking pot weekend, right? Just drinking a good pint of beer.
Well, that's entirely up to the participant,
Yeah.
whether they want to smoke dope and drink beer,
Yeah.
or just smoke dope or just drink beer. That's
Yeah,
entirely up
do
to
whatever they
them.
want.
It's
It's all legal now, marijuana.
it's a free country. Do what you think.
I trust Cheech and Chong don't show up for the Rat Raid, do they?
Not that I've seen.
Okay.
But I mean, I think was it Tommy Chong grew up on the West Coast, so
Yeah.
he's probably been there a couple
So
times.
they will, if you're up in smoke, it'll be all the exhaust coming out of the back of your
That's
Triumph,
right.
not you smoking a big doobie.
No,
right? No. Okay.
The only thing I'll be burning is gasoline.
Gasoline. Okay. All right. Well, great. Thank you for coming. I appreciate
Thank you for
taking
having
your
me.
time. I know you're a very busy man. You got new ownership. Everything looks like it's coming up at Barne's Blackfoot Powersports, right?
Barnes Powersports Blackfoot.
Yeah. Okay. What?
BPS Blackfoot.
BPS Blackfoot. I wish you all the best this year. Obviously sales are up. I mean, the future's looking good for Triumph. Obviously, hopefully you can sell me a Triumph this year, hey? Instead of just
we're
walking
good.
around and talking to me all day.
We're gonna work on it.
Okay, all right.
We'll
Well,
get
thank
you
you.
eventually.
Thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much
Have
for
a great
having me.
week. All right, thanks. So everybody, that's episode 3. I'm so glad to have Mr. Steve Moran here from Barne's Powersport Blackfoot. if you need a Triumph motorcycle, this is your guy. Go see Steve down at Blackfoot Powersports, and he'll sell you a sexy looking Triumph. What, a Rocket 3 or a Street Triple?
Whatever fits you the best.
If you want to look cool for the ladies, which model would you sell them? Like a dude, a Rocket 3?
Probably the Speed Triple Double R.
Okay, so get the Speed Triple Double R. What color, silver or black?
That one is red or white. I go for the red if you want to be sexy.
Oh, you're trying to get rid of those models. They're sticking around from 2022. My pick would be a Rocket 3. Go see Steve about a Rocket 3 or a Tiger 900 Rally. That's a good model?
That is a great model.
All right. And that was in the James Bond movie too, right?
It was. The 900 Rally Pro was in that movie. Okay. They actually had a special edition came out.
All right. And I didn't obviously get that model. I asked you about it and you sold it right away.
I did. Yeah. I sold it out from under you.
All right. Okay. Well, thanks. Until episode 3. End of episode 3 to episode 4, we're moving on. Everybody have a great day and see you soon. Take care. Cheers.
Take care.